In today's video, I want to look at some Adobe Lightroom hacks or quick tips really that can help you out a whole lot when you're at pitch side shooting an event, or even if it's just in normal photography when it's nothing related to sport. These are little tips and tricks that you don't always find or you might not always know, and I reckon there'll be at least one of these 5 that you probably haven't come across before and will actually be really useful. So let's jump straight in. Number 1 is the auto tone setting. Now, if you're new to Lightroom and you perhaps don't know what all the different develop tools do, then the auto tone is a really good way of just starting to see some of the impacts Lightroom can have on your photo. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to try and get all those levels for your photo right based on what Adobe Lightroom thinks is right. So, for example, let me play with some of these and take the exposure down and maybe the highlights up and just play around with this photo a little bit. And then you'll see on the right hand side here there's an auto button. So we're in a develop pane, and on the right hand side it says auto next to tone. If we click that, you'll see what it does is it alters all the levels to be properly exposed and to have all the contrast and all those different things, how Lightroom recognizes them to be. So as we go down here on the right hand side, you'll see things like exposure and contrast have been increased, highlights have been taken down, shadows taken up, etc. So autotone is a great tool for seeing what Lightroom thinks your photo should look like from an exposure and tonal point of view. Number 2, before and after. The second tip I want to share with you today is about how to use the before and after function in Adobe Lightroom. So let's say you've picked the photo, and these could be sports or any photo whatsoever, and you've made a load of amends to them. So let's take the exposure up a bit, crank the contrast up, darken the shadows. We're making this photo absolutely horrific, we know that, but what we're doing is just so you can see the before and after. So there we go, there's our photo we've made a ton of changes to. Now that could be a beautiful landscape photo, it could be a photo of the kids, it could be whatever you want it to be. And all you want to do is you want to have a look at how did the original photo look? Well, all you really need to do, whether you're on Windows or Mac, is press the Y key on your keyboard. There you go, if you hold it in, it will give you on the left a before and on the right an after. The other great thing, if you don't want to look at side by side and you just want a really quick snapshot of what the photo looked like to start with, it's another 1 key shortcut, Windows or Mac, it's exactly the same, and you want to just click on the backslash on your keyboard and hold it. So backslash, release, press, hold, release. And you can see there, it's giving you what the original photo was, and then when we release, back to what it looks like after all of your different changes and amends. Number 3, lights out. Lightroom has a great little feature that allows you to isolate the photo you're editing from the rest of the screen, so you're just looking at that photo and don't have any distractions from anything around you. Simply, all you need to do, Windows or Mac, press the L button. And you see, when you hold it, everything is dimmed down and all you're left with is your photo. So press it once and you get slightly blacked out, press it twice and it completely blacks that photo out. Press it again to resume normal editing. If you hold it, it just gives you that kind of stage 1. You can actually jump into your settings in Lightroom or your preferences, go to interface, and then change your lights out settings so you can vary just how blacked out the frame around the photo is. Really simple and a great way to focus on what it is you're actually working on. Tip number 4, leveling tool. So the leveling tool is a great way of leveling up a photo. So while you can, in develop mode, go to this crop tool and then manually kind of twist it so that everything's straight. Actually, there is a slightly smarter way of doing it that you might find a little bit more, say, accurate or easier to do. It may be particularly effective if you're working with, say, landscapes or a city skyline where there's some nice tall skyscrapers and you want to flatten them out. In sports photography, I always think images should be level. So to very quickly level them out, click the crop tool, click on the little spirit level here, the angle tool. And all you need to do is drag and hold along what should be straight. So I'm going to use this advertising hoarding. That is what should be straight. Release the mouse, boom, and you're leveled up. Done. Easy as that, and you can play it time and time again. So let me just show you that again real quick. Pick another photo, click angle, and we're going to use the pitch as the horizon line here. There's our pitch, should be straight. Boom, done. So easy, so quick, so accurate. Number 5 is reset. Now this is a really quick way of resetting individual amends that you've made to the settings within the develop area of Lightroom. So if we look at this photo, first of all, we will do the reset that everyone knows about, and that is to reset all of the different changes you've made in one fell swoop. So if we just make a couple of changes to this, let's go crop it, contrast, play around with the highlights and the shadows a bit. And then, as everyone knows, there's this reset button right here. Then in one click, you can take that back to before any amends to the photograph were made. However, the tip not many people do know is how to do any of those settings individually and really quickly without having to drag the sliders back up and down this bar. So let's quickly change a few of these over. So we'll pump the contrast up, take the highlights up, drag the shadows down, maybe underexpose it. Okay, you could have been working on, say, a landscape photo or a portrait photo for some time, and loads of these edits you've done, loads of these sliders on the right hand side here, you've tweaked and kind of moved around to get that best effect. Maybe you're in a position where you want to kind of reset one of them so you can see what it would be like with your settings applied with the original exposure, for example. Or maybe you've just cranked one all the way up for quickness, you just want to turn that one back to the original state. Well, the quickest way to do it is simply to put your cursor over whichever value it is, so in this case exposure, and double click the mouse. And you see the exposure has then returned to what it was like in the middle here on 0 before we started. And you can literally do this for all of them. So obviously we have got this reset button to reset all of those values, but if you do want to do just one or two of them, and this works right down the board wherever you've got these sliders and this develop pane on the right, you can double click the name, and it will reset that value for you every time, nice and easy. And there we go. There's my 5 quick tips for Lightroom and how to get more out of it, and maybe some little hacks and shortcuts to what you're doing. Let me know if there's anything else you want to achieve in Lightroom that perhaps you're not sure how to, or you want to know if there's a better way. Drop it in the comments. Let me know what you think of this video as well, and I'll be happy to follow up with some more in future.